She was always there, same bench, same time, curled up tight under a faded hoodie, like she was trying to disappear. At first, people didn't notice, just another kid alone in the park. But she wasn't just passing through. She lived there, slept there, ate what she could scavenge or was given, and she couldn't have been older than 14. Nobody knew her name. She never asked for help. No signs, no begging, just silence. One night, as the sky turned bruised purple and streetlights flickered on, a man in a tailored suit stood across the street, watching. He had passed this park every night for a week, and every night she was there, barely moving, barely breathing, a shadow. He wasn't a cop. He wasn't a social worker. He was a millionaire, young, driven, obsessed with success. But something about her stopped him cold. It wasn't just the fact that she was so young, it was how still she was. Not scared, not alert, just still. Like life had drained out of her, and she was waiting for the world to end. He thought of calling someone, but who? What if they just shoved her into the system? What if she vanished even deeper? So he waited, day after day. He watched. She'd rise at dawn, disappear for a few hours, and return with a bottle of water or half a sandwich. Never spoke to anyone. Never caused a scene. And every night, back to that bench, who was she? What happened to her? And why was no one looking? One evening, just before midnight, it started to rain, cold, relentless. The kind of rain that seeps into your bones. He crossed the street. She didn't flinch as his footsteps approached. Didn't even lift her head. "Hey," he said softly, crouching beside her. "Are you okay?" Silence. "Do you have somewhere to go?" Still nothing. He tried again. "What's your name?" She finally looked up. Her eyes weren't sad. They weren't scared. They were empty, the kind of emptiness you don't see in children, the kind that takes years of pain to build. "Why do you care?" she whispered. He didn't know how to answer. Because he didn't know. Something about her felt personal, like a mirror he didn't want to look into. "I just do." She looked away, pulled her hoodie tighter. He reached into his coat and held out a clean, unopened protein bar. She stared at it like it was a trick. "I'm not here to take anything," he said. "Just thought you might be hungry." She took it, slowly. He stood up, unsure what else to do. As he turned to leave, she spoke again, barely audible. "I used to live in a house bigger than yours." He froze. She didn't say it with arrogance, it was a fact and a challenge. He turned back, stunned. "What happened?" But she was already lying down again, back to the bench, back to the silence. He didn't sleep that night. The next day he came back with questions. But he didn't ask them. He just sat on the next bench, every evening, for 5 days straight. Sometimes they sat in silence, sometimes he offered her food. Once, she accepted a bottle of water. Then, on the 6th night, she said something that made his blood run cold. "My mom said if anything happened to her, I had to stay invisible." He stared at her. "What happened to your mom?" She didn't answer, but now he knew. This wasn't just a runaway. This was something more profound, darker. And suddenly he couldn't walk away. What happened to her mother? What was she hiding from? And why did she believe being invisible was her only way to survive? You're not going to believe what he discovers next. Stay with me, comment if you've ever seen someone in pain and didn't know what to do. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. The millionaire's name was Carter, and though he ran a tech empire, made decisions that moved millions, nothing gripped him like this girl's silence. He tried to rationalize it. Maybe he felt guilty. Perhaps she reminded him of someone. Possibly it was just curiosity. But deep down, he knew it was something else. He saw himself in her. The version of him the world never met. Each night, he returned. No cameras, no attention. Just him and the cold metal bench beside hers. The first few nights, she barely acknowledged him. She stared straight ahead, as if watching something he couldn't see. By the fourth night, she let out a single word. "You're back," he nodded. "You thought I wouldn't be?" "Most people don't come back," she said, still staring ahead, "especially when they see someone like me." Someone like me. That line haunted him. She never gave him her name, but she started speaking. Fragments at first, little crumbs of truth, enough to make him desperate for more. One night, he brought 2 cups of hot chocolate. No expectations, just an offering. She took hers without a word, warmed her hands on the cup. Minutes passed. Then she whispered, "You ever feel like everyone stopped looking for you before you even got lost?" He swallowed hard. That one hit too close. "Yeah," he said. "Once, a long time ago." She turned her head, just slightly. "What happened?" "My mom died. My dad left. Foster homes. I built walls. Got angry. Worked like hell to make sure I never had to rely on anyone again." A silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable, just heavy with understanding. "You think working hard keeps you safe?" she asked. "It gave me control," she nodded. "Control is an illusion." Carter didn't argue. Because he knew she was right, he started noticing things, patterns. She always arrived just after 3 p.m., shoes muddy, clothes wet. Sometimes there were faint healing bruises along her arms. She never had a bag, no phone. But she always carried a small red bracelet, tied loosely to her wrist, as if it meant everything. And she never slept fully, just dozed, one eye open like she was waiting for someone. "Or hiding?" he asked her once, carefully. "Are you in danger?" She looked at him for a long time. "If I answer that, will you still come back?" His heart dropped. Yes. She didn't answer that night, but the next she finally told him her name. "Jasmine." He repeated it under his breath. Somehow it felt sacred. "Jasmine, do you have any family?" he asked. She hesitated. "I had a mom. She was everything, but then she got sick." He leaned in. "And?" Jasmine's voice dropped to a whisper. "And one day she didn't come home." A long pause. "Police said she overdosed. But that's not true. She was clean for 2 years. I know something happened. I know someone hurt her, but nobody cared. They just closed the case." Carter felt his stomach knot. He wanted to ask more, but her eyes were glazed with tears she refused to let fall. "After she disappeared," Jasmine continued, "I stayed with her boyfriend. He said she'd want me to, but he wasn't safe." Carter's fists clenched. She didn't go into detail. She didn't have to. "I ran, and I remembered what my mom said. Stay invisible," that phrase again. "But Jasmine, you don't have to hide anymore." "Yes, I do," she said. "Because if I stop, people start asking questions. And when people ask questions, bad things happen." Carter didn't sleep that night either. He paced his penthouse, staring out over a city that sparkled on the surface, hiding its rot beneath. He had power, he had money, but he'd never felt more helpless. Yet something shifted inside him. He wasn't just a witness now, he was involved, deeply. What happened to Jasmine's mom? And who was the man she feared so deeply? Carter begins digging into her past. But what he finds makes him question everything he thought he knew, including his own past. Drop a comment if you've ever felt invisible. Like the video to support stories that matter, and make sure to subscribe. Next will shock you. Carter didn't waste time. The morning after Jasmine told him her name, he was already pulling strings. Private investigators, legal records, anything he could dig up without raising flags. The more he uncovered, the less it made sense. There was no official report of her disappearance, no Amber Alert, no follow-up on her mother's case, just a single line in an old police file. No foul play suspected. That was it. Her story ended there. But Jasmine wasn't lying. The dates matched. Her name matched. Her mother, Lena Morgan, had been clean. 2 years sober, a single mom working 2 jobs and attending night school, and then, suddenly, gone. The report said, possible overdose. But there were no autopsy results, no witness statements, no investigation. Just silence. That silence was deafening. Carter returned to the park that evening with more questions than answers. Jasmine was already on the bench, clutching her red bracelet. She looked tired, not physically, soul tired. He sat down beside her. Your mom's name was Lena, right? Jasmine didn't look up. How do you know that? I looked her up. I wanted to understand. A long pause, then softly. You won't find the truth on paper. Then tell me, he said gently. Jasmine stared into the distance. We were doing okay. Not great, but okay. She worked double shifts, always came home tired, but she smiled when she saw me. We had this thing. She'd dance in the kitchen no matter how tired she was, said dancing keeps the darkness away. Her voice cracked. Then she met this guy, Marcus. At first, he was charming, helped out, bought us groceries. I even liked him for a while, but slowly, things changed. How? He started controlling everything, told her what to wear, who to talk to, started showing up at her work, getting angry over nothing. Did she try to leave? She did once, packed a bag, told me we were leaving in the morning. That night, she went out to get gas. Jasmine's jaw tensed. Her hands gripped the bracelet tighter. She never came back. Carter sat still, processing. Did you tell the police? They didn't listen. Marcus told them she had a history, that she probably relapsed. They believed him. Did he hurt you? She didn't answer, but her silence was loud enough. I ran. I had to. Carter felt rage boil inside him, not just at Marcus, but at a system that discarded people like Jasmine and her mother as if their lives didn't matter. I found a shelter once, Jasmine said, but they wanted to call social services. I knew if I went in, Marcus could find me. And the bracelet? She made it for me at rehab. Said as long as I wore it, I'd never be alone. It was frayed now, almost falling apart, but it was clearly the most valuable thing she had. Carter exhaled slowly. You're not alone anymore. Jasmine looked at him for real this time, not with fear, but with disbelief, like she wanted to believe him but couldn't afford to. I don't need your money, she said firmly. I know, he replied. That's not what I'm offering. She studied his face. Then why are you here? Carter looked away for a moment, then answered with something he hadn't told anyone in years. Because I was 12 when I watched my mom OD in our bathroom, I stayed with her body for hours before anyone came, and nobody ever asked me if I was okay. Not once. I survived. Barely. But I promised if I ever saw a kid go through what I did, I wouldn't look away. Jasmine blinked. Her guard softened, just slightly. For the first time, they weren't just 2 strangers, they were survivors. Carter is determined to confront Marcus. But what happens when his search for justice uncovers secrets he never expected, including a connection to his own past? Carter had spent his life solving problems. That's what made him rich. Quick decisions, bold moves, clean execution. But nothing about this felt clean, Marcus. That name haunted him now. Jasmine's story echoed in his mind. Her mother vanished. Her silence, the fear behind her eyes. It wasn't just trauma. It was something present, active, alive. He had to know who Marcus was. Carter had resources. Within 24 hours, he had everything. Full name, Marcus Delaney, former military, dishonorable discharge, 2 domestic complaints, both dismissed, a DUI, and, chillingly, a sealed court record from 5 years ago. That record sent Carter spiraling. He called in a favor, someone in legal, discreet. The sealed file? It was a restraining order filed by Lena Morgan, Jasmine's mother. It never went to trial. The file showed, "Plaintiff failed to appear." Carter's gut twisted. He drove to Marcus's last known address, a run-down house on the edge of the city, cracked windows, yard full of trash, a pit bull is chained up front. Carter didn't get out of the car, he just watched. Marcus came out carrying a six-pack and yelling into the phone. This man still lived like he owned the world, still free, still dangerous, back in his penthouse. Carter stared at the ceiling, sleep nowhere in sight. His rage had no outlet. Money couldn't fix this. He started to remember things, not about Jasmine, about himself. His own mother's face was pale and lifeless, the echo of silence after she died, the social workers, the blank stares, the feeling that his pain was invisible, that no one wanted to deal with it. He thought he'd buried all that, but Jasmine unearthed it. Every word she said cracked something open in him. The next morning he sat in his office, blinds drawn, hands shaking slightly. His assistant knocked. "You okay, sir?" He nodded, lying. But the truth? He wasn't. For the first time in years, Carter cried, silent, bitter tears, not just for Jasmine, not just for Lena, for himself, for every version of himself that no one ever saved. Later that day, Jasmine met him at the park again. She looked worried. "You look different," she said. "I found him." Her expression didn't change, but her hand went straight to the bracelet, her shield. "I know," she whispered. "You went to his house." "I stayed in the car." A beat of silence. "You shouldn't have gone." "I had to. I needed to see it. I needed to see him, to understand how someone like that still walks free." Jasmine's voice was small. "Because people like him know how to stay in the cracks, and people like us, we disappear." Carter looked at her. "You're not disappearing anymore." "I already have," she said. "The system lost me a long time ago." "Then I'll find you," he said. "Again and again, if I have to." She was quiet. Then she asked, "Why are you really doing this?" Carter hesitated, then answered with more truth than he expected. "Because when I was a kid, I prayed someone would come, just one adult, one person to see me. But no one did. And I swore, if I ever had the power, I'd never be that kind of silence." Jasmine didn't speak, but she nodded, slowly. Then she said something that gutted him. "Can I tell you something and not have you fix it?" "Always." "I don't know if I believe people like you are real." Carter knelt in front of her, not above her, eye to eye. "I'm not a hero, I'm not perfect, but I see you, Jasmine, that's real, and I'm not going anywhere." That moment broke something. Not just in Carter, but in her. She didn't cry, but she looked like she might, and that was enough. Jasmine finally opens up, and Carter makes a promise that will take them both into dangerous territory, but is he ready to go up against the system? And Marcus? Tap like if you believe one voice can make a difference. Drop a comment for Jasmine, and subscribe. The next time Carter saw Jasmine, she didn't sit on the bench. She stood, arms crossed, hoodie up, eyes locked on him like she was waiting for something. Maybe an explanation, perhaps a lie, maybe both. "You said you weren't going anywhere," she said. "I'm not." "Then why do I feel like something's about to change?" She wasn't wrong. Carter had been planning this moment all night. Phone calls, paperwork, quiet favors, all done behind the scenes. "I want to help you," he said. "You already do. You listen. That's more than most. I want to do more." Jasmine's eyes narrowed. "Like what?" He hesitated, then stepped closer, choosing his words carefully. "A friend of mine runs a youth legal defense and housing nonprofit. They help kids, real help, no institutions, no shelters. They can set you up with a safe place to stay, real meals, privacy, school, a therapist if you want one." She didn't blink. "So, like a foster home?" "No. It's not a program that sends you somewhere. You choose where, You're in control. Her lips pressed together. And if I say no, then I'll keep sitting on that bench until you say yes. She looked away. What's the catch? No catch. There's always a catch. Carter paused, then offered her the only truth he could. The catch is trusting me, that's all I've got. She said nothing for a long time. Then, what if I don't know how? He gave a soft smile. Then we take it slow. She paced in a small circle. Her body language screamed indecision. A girl who had learned never to accept anything without reading the fine print, even if there wasn't one. What happens to Marcus? She asked suddenly. Carter's expression shifted. I'm building a case, quietly. Everything I found. I'm turning over to someone I trust in the DA's office. But Jasmine, if we push too fast, he'll disappear. I need time. What if he hurts someone else? Carter's voice dropped. He won't. She studied his face. I want to believe you, she said, but I've only ever survived by assuming the worst. You don't have to unlearn that overnight, he said, but maybe now you don't have to survive alone. The words hung in the air, heavier than the silence. I used to dream about being rescued, she said. Like in stories, some stranger would show up and fix everything. And now? Now I dream about being invisible, because it hurts less when people forget you than when they leave you. Carter felt that in his chest, deep. Let me make you a different kind of offer, he said. Not charity, not rescue, just options, a safe bed, a hot meal, a door you can lock. And if you want to go back to the bench tomorrow, I won't stop you. You promise? I promise. Jasmine glanced down at her bracelet. Her fingers traced the threads like she was asking it what to do. Then she looked up. Okay, one night. That's all I ask. Later that evening, Carter drove her to the safe house. It wasn't a mansion, just a modest home on a quiet street with warm lighting, clean sheets, and people trained to care, without conditions. She didn't say much as she stepped out of the car, but before walking to the door, she turned back. Are you coming in? He smiled. Only if you want me to. She nodded once. Inside, the coordinator introduced herself. Jasmine nodded politely, clearly on edge but not running. That alone was progress. Carter sat in the standard room while she toured the space. 10 minutes passed, then 15. He thought maybe she'd changed her mind, but then she returned, hoodie off, still clutching the bracelet, but this time, smiling. Just a little. I picked the room with the window, she said. Carter nodded. Good choice. Jasmine's new life begins, but healing isn't linear, and Carter. His past is about to crash into his present in a way he never saw coming. It had been 3 weeks since Jasmine stepped into the safe house. She hadn't gone back to the bench. Not once. Carter didn't pressure her. He checked in, but he let her lead. She started sleeping through the night, eating full meals, smiling, rarely. But when she did, it was real. She even picked up a pencil again. Carter found her sketching one afternoon in the standard room. Quiet, focused, drawing trees, windows, faces. Those are good, he said. She shrugged. My mom used to say drawing made the silence easier. He sat beside her. You still hear it? Every day, she said. But now I can answer it. They shared a look that said more than words could. The safe house coordinator told Carter that Jasmine had started asking about school, about GED programs, college even. She's got this fire, she said. It's quiet, but it's there. Carter smiled, but behind it, something weighed on him. Because while Jasmine was building a future, he was unraveling a past. A week earlier, he'd received a call from the DA's office. His contact, a woman named Rachel, was nervous. Carter, you need to see this in person. He met her in a private conference room. What she showed him was a photograph, black and white, a woman, eyes wide with fear, face bruised. That's Lena, Carter said instantly. Rachel nodded. But look closer. He leaned in next to Lena, a man, fist raised, blurred face, and on the table behind them, a file folder. Carter squinted. The logo. It was his company's. He froze. "What is this?" he asked. Rachel flipped the photo over. "It's from an internal security report. Suppressed buried one of your executives, Marcus Delaney, used company property to intimidate a whistleblower." Carter couldn't speak. "It happened just before Lena disappeared," Rachel continued. "We think she tried to report him, he found out, and she vanished." Carter staggered back like he'd been hit. He had hired Marcus. Not directly, HR had handled it. But still, his company, his watch. He was part of the system that failed Jasmine. That guilt burned hot. He couldn't tell her. Not yet. Not until he figured out how to fix it. So he doubled down. He brought in lawyers, therapists, and security, quietly moved to have Marcus investigated internally, set up a fund in Lena's name. No press, no headlines, just action. And then he revisited the safe house. This time, Jasmine met him at the door. "You okay?" she asked. He smiled and forced, tired. "I've got something for you." She raised an eyebrow. "Another protein bar?" He chuckled. "No, this." He handed her a manila envelope. She opened it slowly. Inside, a printed acceptance letter from a local charter school, a scholarship form, and a bus pass. "I didn't want to assume," he said, "but they're holding your spot." She looked stunned. "I didn't even apply. I might have put in a good word." She stared at the letter, then at him. "Why are you really doing this?" Carter hesitated, then finally said the thing he'd been carrying. "Because part of what happened to your mom happened under my roof." Jasmine's face went still. "I didn't know," he continued. "But that doesn't matter. I should have, and I'm going to make it right." She nodded, just once. "I believe you," she said quietly. "Not because you're perfect, but because you stayed." That night, she didn't go back to the safe house. She stayed at Carter's. Not because she had to, but because she chose to. In a guest room with sunlight and books and a locked door, she controlled. It wasn't a fairy tale. There were still nightmares, therapy sessions that ended in silence, tears that came from nowhere. But there was progress. There was a possibility. And for the first time in a long time, there was peace. Jasmine's story seems to be closing. But what if there's one final truth no one saw coming? A hidden message, a forgotten notebook, and a secret that ties everything together. 3 months later, Jasmine found the notebook. It was tucked deep inside the lining of her old hoodie, the same one she'd worn every night on that bench. She hadn't even realized there was a hidden pocket until the fabric tore in the laundry. Inside, folded in half and slightly worn from time, was a small spiral-bound notebook. On the first page, in familiar handwriting, it read, "For Jasmine, if you're reading this, it means you made it, and I'm so, so proud of you." Her mother, Jasmine's hands shook as she turned the pages. It wasn't just a letter. It was a blueprint, a record of everything her mother feared, notes, dates, names, descriptions of Marcus's behavior, the times he followed her, he said what he said and did what he did. There was even a name, a woman her mother had confided in, a caseworker who believed her, who tried to help, and then was transferred suddenly, without explanation. Jasmine's eyes filled with tears. This wasn't paranoia. Her mother knew she was in danger. She tried to protect her. She documented everything, just in case. And now Jasmine had it. She didn't tell Carter right away. She needed to breathe, process, mourn. But that night, she sat across from him at the kitchen table and laid the notebook down. He didn't speak for a long time after reading it. Just sat there, eyes red, fingers tense on the cover. "This is evidence," he finally said. "Real, undeniable evidence." She nodded. "And Jasmine, this changes everything." The next day, Carter took the notebook to Rachel at the DA's office. Within hours, everything moved. A new investigation was opened, the old caseworker was tracked down, and agreed to testify. Marcus was arrested 3 days later. No press, no fanfare, just quiet justice finally catching up to the noise long ignored. When Jasmine heard the news, she didn't celebrate. She just went to her room, closed the door, and cried, not for pain, but for release. Later that week, she spoke at a closed hearing. She told her story, not just as a victim, but as a witness, a survivor. Her voice didn't shake. She didn't look away. And when she finished, the judge paused and said, "You are one of the strongest people I've ever seen." Jasmine didn't feel strong. She just felt free. At home. Carter waited for her. Same seat, same quiet patience. "How did it feel?" he asked. "Like I closed a door I'd been holding open for too long," she said. He nodded, understanding. Then she added, "I want to do something, anything. I want to start something, a program, for girls like me, those who fall through the cracks, who never gets heard." Carter's smile was instant. "We'll make it happen." And they did. 6 months later, Project Invisible launched, a nonprofit built from Jasmine's experience, backed by Carter's funding, and run by survivors who turned pain into purpose. Jasmine spoke at the opening. Her final words were simple. "Don't save us. Stand with us." The room went silent, then exploded in applause. Later, alone in the corner of the new youth center, Jasmine held her bracelet. It was worn now, barely holding together, but beside it, on her wrist, was a new one. Blue thread, stronger, handmade, this one she'd given to herself. Carter walked up beside her. "You okay?" She looked at him. "Yeah, actually, yeah." He smiled. "Your mom would be proud." Jasmine nodded. "She already was. She wrote it down, remember?" They laughed, light, whole, and then Jasmine whispered something, not to Carter, but to the air. "I kept going, Mama, just like you said." The camera fades. Some stories don't need heroes, they need listeners. If this story moved you, share it, comment for Jasmine, and if you believe in second chances and unseen strength, subscribe to this channel. Because stories like hers, they're not rare, they're just hidden.